So in this video, we're going to learn about how we can use Procoder to go from vibe coding to pro coding. And we're going to do this little example here where we're going to have an explosion and then reassemble, which is kind of a vibe coding, but we're going to use a plan-based agentic development flow, such as we can refactor the code to make it more scalable. Very simple example, but the right practices at the right place. Okay, enough talking, let's start coding. So first, let's go there, and we're going to start from scratch. So we're going to do AIP, check keys to make sure that we have all the keys. So that is just the environment variable. And now we're going to do AIP install pro add coder. That will install the Procoder pack. And now we're going to do AIP run pro add coder. That will run our terminal UI, which is the AIPack, with the Procoder agent. Right now, we're skipping everything because the instruction is empty, and so we can edit the files over there. That is the parametric files. So right now, knowledge, we're going to leave it like that. We're going to say that our context globes, that is the files that are passed, and that is just the file path. So we're going to do both at web content. We're going to create the things under web content. Then we're going to go down over there. So that is kind of parameters. We're going to say we want true, and we're going to actually use flash. So that is these aliases in AIPack, and you can look at it in the config-default, and flash goes to the flash latest, which is super cool, very cheap and relatively fast. You can use codecs or anything. So now what we're going to do here in this first example is we're going to do the simple example to do the base of the application, of the mini application we want to have. And for this, the first prompt that we're going to have is going to be that one. So with Procoder, anything which is above the equal sign is going to be the prompt that we're going to send. Anything which is below here, all of that. So first implement the following. No plan is needed for this task. So under the web content, implement a single index HTML featuring a particular triangle. We explode when we do the first click, and the second click will reassemble. And here we're like giving some information that I know works well to have this first shot doing a pretty good job. And that is kind of vibe coding in a way. And we're going to see later how we're going to do to pro coding. So make sure you save that over there. And now you can go here and you can press R or press replay. So now we see that this is going, it's blinking over there, it's using the Gemini Flash latest, or Gemini, I guess. And then that is a duration of 13 seconds. So it's going to count over there. This is a little overview. So that is a prompt, and that is the information we're sending. And we can see the task here. We just have one task. In Procoder, we can have parallel tasks as well. But so far, we have one task. We're sending about 14K kilobytes. That is because there's a prompt as well, which is sent with that. And then we're going to see that that is what we have been sending. So now we're going to wait, and boom, that's it. In 1 minute and 5 seconds, we had 3,000 tokens in, which is not that big. And then we had our 11,000 rezoning and about 3,000 of completion, which is normal because that is our index page. Now, if we are going to look at, we do a live preview on this one over there, and that will start our web browser. And now we have this application, and if we click on it, it should explode, and then we click again, it's assemble again. So we have all of the elastic and everything we gave and stuff. And that is just Flash, so it did a pretty good job. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come back there and we're going to look at the Procoder. And in fact, what you are looking here is in our terminal, in the task, we have a suggestion of a git commit, which is git add, the dot, which is this one. So make sure you have the gitignore, obviously, and then the git commit on this guy. So we're going to copy that. We click to copy. We go to the other terminal. And then we're going to copy that guy there, and then boom, we have that. So all is clean. It's very important when we do development that we are doing development in a git commit centric way, such as we can really track what the AI is doing without having the accept, because Git is here for that. So now what we're going to do is we have done that one pretty well. Again, in 1 minute, 3 cents. So we're going to remove that. The information below here is a little bit repeat what we had over there. And then we are going to add this new instruction. So now, following the plan rules, create a plan to refactor this index.html into a proper architecture. And here we are saying everything we want. We want to have the JS in the JS folder and main.js on 3 points, a CSV util, CV util, CV animation for the canvas, the easing, then clean up the JavaScript, the config, as well as at the end we say, hey, by the way, start with the main.js and CSS refactor. So that is to give the plan. Now, how does Procoder knows about the plan? So the way here we're going to do that is we're going to come back over there. And this is where you give the knowledge. And knowledge is something which is relatively static. And so what we can do here is Procoder gave us kind of a plan rules, default one. So that is a template that I can drag and drop here. So you drag with Shift. And that will explain Procoder what are the plan workflow. And so we're going to have a plan 1 to do steps, plan 2, current step, plan 3, done steps. And you're going to see it's going to help us very much. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take this one, and because we want Procoder to update the plan file, we're going to do a plan-star.md. So that we know that it's plan-1, plan-2, and so on. So that is a simple way of having that. Now, if we go back there and we're going to do a run again, that will run this one. So we come there and then we click on replay. That will do another run. So again, you can have as many runs as you want. And then it runs over there and you can see all the tasks. If there were multiple, I would see multiple tasks. Otherwise, I see only one. And then here's the overview in case we have multiple tasks. Agent can decide what they want to display here. So now this one is done. And so we're going to see here, and this file has been created. So we're going to go there. So now we have a clean plan here with the status, time created, everything very well aligned. And then if you go down, we can see all of the steps. So that is pretty cool. And so now we go there and we're going to remove that. And we'll just say do next step. So we're giving a hint in the prompt to say use the plan rules. The AI will know what plan rule is because it has a file name and the content in his content, which is in knowledge. That is what we did above. And we do next step. And now we come here and we press R. So that will run again and do just the next step because that is what is encoded into the plan rules. And so in this case, what we're doing is we're doing a plan-based development. And the plan rules workflow has updated our HTML, has created the main.css. So that is very simple in this case. And then if we look at the current, this is a current step that we just did. So the workflow here is it take the next step from the 1 to do steps and put it in the 2 current step. That is the way it works. And then we even have the timestamp here. So now that we have this, we can even have, in this case, the git commit suggestion. We can copy it, come back here, Command V, boom, we have it. And so if we do a git log, we have these kind of things. So now suddenly here, what we're doing is we are refactoring the code such that the code can scale better. So this is how we go from vibe coding, in a way, to production coding, in a very simplistic way. Now, the cool thing is we can just go here and we can just press R again to replay because it will take the next one and it will move it over there. And then this one will move to plan 3, done steps. And so we have this pipeline here of steps that goes down. Now, one thing that you want to check all the time is to make sure that everything works like before. Like any refactor didn't break anything, which is so far so good. So now we go back here. We're going to wait a little bit and then boom is done. 35 seconds, 0.2 cents. So far we are 8 cents. And then we have the git commit over there. There's this little marker here. The best practice is that is for refactor. And then I go back there and then boom, kaboom, it doesn't work. And here's the power of the thing. So now it did some work, but it broke some other things. So something kind of got broken. So what I'm going to do is I'm still going to commit this one like that. But now I can go to the prompt and I say in the current step, a mistake was introduced because I do not see the triangle anymore. Fix the current step. And now we go back towards the AIP and we're going to press run. So what that will do is that it will look at the plan 2 current step, it will look at the code, and it will try to figure out why it doesn't work. Now, one thing I could have done, obviously, as production coding, I could have inspected and look at these things. So if it cannot really find the issue, I would copy paste that into the prompt to give him a little bit more hint. So we're going to see if he can fix it without that. We're going to wait a little bit, and then boom. So he fixed it. And now we can see that he put as a sub-step, which is how the thing works. And it just, it says breaks the user and the current here, and then the answer. The breakage occurred because the inline script and things and so on. And so that looks pretty good. So let's see, and let's cross fingers, and boom, we're back in a working stage. Now we're happy about this. We are going to either do the fix, or actually I'm going to be there and I'm going to do git amend. And that is an alias that allows me to amend the previous commit. So like this, you just go to the previous commit. I don't need to commit the bug. And now I'm going to do the next step. So I go back there and I say, do next step. Press, go back here, press run, and that will run on the next step. Now, what we're going to see here is that when we have the step, we have all of this line and all these kind of things, all these bullet points. But when you go to the done step, we see that it has kind of a summary sometimes. It doesn't have everything, and we're going to see when the current step goes here, because every time it goes back there when it does the next step, we're going to see that it's kind of a summary when there's sub-step, such as we don't have to put everything back into the history. Boom, is done. So now we know, we've seen here that the previous issue came here, and then it didn't say about the bug fix because it was already fixed and everything. So it didn't need, but it gave me what was done before. And that is what is done right now. And we're going to check that to make sure that everything works. So if it works, it means that the refactor has worked. I'm going to copy that, go back to this terminal, go there, do a git log to see where I am. So far, so good. And then I'm going to go back there and do the step here. And so this way here, I have full control of my code and I can see the code refactoring step by step. And eventually we can automate to have each step going, obviously. But right now, that really gives me good control of owning my code. Okay, so now I change. So again, the other task went over there. This one, the one that was done before. And then we had this new one that was done. And we can see that it created CV animation, which is again very important, such as if we have more animations, we will put them there. And we're going to check that everything works, which is good. And then we're going to do the refactor, boom, over there. And then we're going to press R again. And so now we can go to the to-do step to see where we are. Probably was the last one. So actually we'll probably come back and say in current step, and it will probably tell me that the to-do were updated, but not source file. And if I go to my coder prompt over there, I will say, I have moved the current step to the done state. There is no remaining step and stuff. So far, so good. Now, here's the cool things that we can do. So there's no more step over there. There's no more step over here because that has been moved into the done. So everything was done. I can clean it up and restart from scratch, or I can ask to give me a PR files on this guy. So for example, here we can do looking at the plan 3 done steps file. Can you create a clean and concise PR description in the same directory under prrefactor.md? And then we do that. So here is not really the plan, but we are saying, hey, look at the plan file and create me the PR things. And the goal of AIPack and Procoder is really to be file-based, because that is a way when you do production coding, you don't work in a web browser or in a chat windows or whatever. You won't work with files. And so now we go back there again and press R, and boom, there is the PR refactor. That's pretty cool. Now, I could put in knowledge some of the format that I want in the PR refactor. And this is actually the AI. I didn't put that into the globs. So the AI doesn't really see this file. It can write it, but it doesn't see it. Now, let's say that we're going to remove this one and we're going to do something else, which is going to be pretty interesting, which is going to say, I want to implement something new, which is kind of particle displacement when I move. So I'm going to say, now implement, we're going to say ask, following the plan rules, create a plan to implement a short plan to implement particle displacement on mass over and have the config in the config.js file. Okay? So I'm going to go there, press here, press R, and that is going to do the next one. And then boom, that is done. And if I go plan 2 step is empty, but if I go to plan 1 to do steps, I get all of this. That is pretty cool. So let's do that. We go back there. And by the way, here, the beautiful thing is we are just working with Flash. I don't have a big coding guy here. I have a small guy, but the Flash latest is actually pretty good. But when we split things in small parts, it's much easier for human or for the machine. So we're going to say, do next step. Come back here, press R. I have Command R that wires the R to here if I wanted to. Boom. This is change the config, probably almost nothing. Always check that everything works. And we're going to press save. We're going to put this guy over there. And then we'll go back here, press R. And again, the difference between vibe coding and pro coding, it's a continuum, which means that in vibe coding, you can start vibe coding, but eventually you want to own the code. You want to own the design. And that is really the key differences, because once you own it, you can make it scale much better for human or machine. It's the same thing. Now, if I want to change some config of my application, I just go there. I don't need to prompt anything. So that's why we want to own the code and work with AI to refactor it in a scalable way. So now we're doing this. It's probably not implemented yet, but we're making sure that everything works nice. And we're going to just do that guy. We could collapse them at some point. And then if we go to the to-do, there's only one guy last, and that is hopefully to wire everything. And then we're going to do, I have Command R here that start directly that one. Okay, so that's pretty cool. 53 seconds, and we have it. And so now we're going to see if it works, hopefully. And it seems to work. So explode, and then when I move, it moves very subtly. But here the cool thing is we can go to our config and we're going to say resolution force 2.5. And then this one, we're going to put that. Press save, should be auto reload and leg. Look at this, beautiful. That is pretty nice. And then that's it. That is what we did from vibe coding to pro coding. And obviously that is a very simple example, but in future videos, we're going to see more complex one. Until next one, happy coding.